This is module 4 in the series Growth Mindset for Unprecedented Times, and today we're going to focus on the area of focus, mindfulness, being in the moment, being able to pay attention in the moment to what we need to focus on, managing distractions, and look at the importance of building and executing a routine. So let's tread boldly straight into the area of mindfulness. Spend some time reflecting on the cartoon that's in front of you at the moment on your screens. What are your observations on the difference between the experience that the dog is having and the one that the human being is having? So some of the conclusions that you might have come up with having looked at that cartoon is the dog is actually in the moment. It's being taken for a beautiful walk, and yet the human being is on their mobile, receiving messages or thinking about things. They're far from in the moment. And this is a fundamental facet of being a human being. Whilst I'm hopeful there are many of you tuning in to this video, so I know that you will be behind your screens physically, but I've no idea where your minds are. I've got a good idea, and maybe they're not actually totally in the moment, and you're being distracted by thoughts or things that are happening in your home office. And so often, as human beings, we are anywhere but the present moment. We are catastrophizing about things that might or might not happen in the future, or worrying and regressing about things that happened in the past. And without being too philosophical, the only time that we can actually experience our lives is in the present moment, and yet we're not there very often. So there is a technique called mindfulness that can help us actually be much more in the moment. And this is all around managing our own mind. And mindfulness is as simple as spending a period in the day, maybe when you first get up or before you go to bed, and just calming the mind down, maybe spending between 2, 3 to 10 minutes and just focusing on nothing but the natural sensation of your breathing that happens automatically. And every time you notice that the mind has wandered, you bring it back and you bring it back and you bring it back. And over time, this builds up a mindful muscle in our own minds and enables us to be much more self-aware and focused on the present moment. And the medical science behind this is profound in the effect that this has on our own well-being. So, with a new mindful spirit, let's look at what we need to be focused on. Uh, so, so much of our time we are consumed emotionally about the outcome of the work we do, the targets, the goals, the objectives. What I'm going to encourage is that we actually focus on what causes success to happen for us. So, what are the key activities that we should engage in that will afford success the best possible chance of being a natural output of the work that we do? Our continuous challenge is to keep focused on best practice processes while surrendering the outcome. Now, this might seem countercultural, but to achieve our greatest potential, we need to commit to the controllables, surrender the outcome, and trust the process. Our focus on planning and execution of these activities is within our control, the rest is not. So let's see what Premier League manager Sean Dyche's views on this whole aspect of process v outcome.
Outcomes in football come around very quickly, and you've got to get them right at some stage, because outcome being winning, basically. If you don't get that right, you're done anyway. But there has to be a process, I believe, to give you the best chance of winning. And I speak to the players and the staff a lot about, look, we're trying to enhance our capabilities and our chances. We're trying to enhance that so that every time that whistle blows, we have a better chance to go and perform and therefore win.
So observations on what Sean was saying there is that it's not that we don't care about the outcome, the result, the goal, the objective. It means that actually we recognise that the achievement of that is directly related to the effort, the skill, and the knowledge that we plan and execute the key activities that will make that happen for us. So to help us with this, I would like to introduce the term drilling for oil. Drilling for oil is the metaphor we use for those activities that are part of our core process. So for this next exercise, I'm going to split down how we can spend our time in three terms. Drilling for oil, i.e. I've just defined that. In support of drilling for oil, so those activities that we need to do that enhance our capabilities to drill, and I would suggest that this video is one of those. And by definition, everything else is stuff. So what I'd like you to do is engage in this exercise. So on your screens now is an exercise where you can evaluate how you spend your time. So we will either spend our time drilling for oil, in support of drilling for oil, or stuff. So the exercise now is to get a piece of paper and replicate the very simple model that you see on your screens, and be brutally honest with yourself. What is the percentage of your time at the moment that you spend drilling for oil, the key activities, in support of drilling for oil, or stuff? And then the next exercise is to repeat that, but in an ideal world, what would that look like? So again, fill in those percentages. They should add up to 100%. So what percentage of my work time is spent in activities associated with drilling for oil in the key process? What should they look like with regard to drilling, with regard to support of drilling and stuff in an ideal? So you should have two columns now, and there is obviously a gap between how we spend our time and how ideally we should be spending our time. And there will be some roadblocks and barriers that are currently getting in the way. And what I'd like you to do is name them. So in the exercise that we've used, we've got time management, we've got procrastination, we've got our own confidence maybe in being able to engage in those key activities under drilling for oil. But whatever they are yours. So spend this time to spend 2 to 3 that you recognise are currently getting in the way of you being able to move to the ideal side of that model. And once you've done that, then let's go back to our old friend CIA. So for each of those roadblocks and barriers, is it something that we just need to accept? Or is it something that we could control and influence, perhaps by enhancing our own time management process? A way of improving and enhancing our own personal effectiveness is looking at our displacement activities. Now, displacement activities is a technical term for stuff. So it is the activities and tasks that we either get drawn into, we do subliminally, or we do actively that displace time that we should be spent on drilling for oil or support of drilling for oil. And as the management guru Peter Drucker said, there is nothing so useless at doing something effectively when it shouldn't be done at all. So this is the opportunity to write down what you consider your 1, 2 or 3 key displacement activities are. And I'm going to suggest you three routines for you to consider to build into your own way of working. The first one is plan, do, review. And that is having a weekly meeting with yourself. Nobody else invited, just you. And the suggestion would be to run this on a Friday morning, maybe 8:30, before the day runs away with itself. And it should take between 20 and 30 minutes. And the essence here is to plan in what we refer to as your big rocks. And a big rock is something which is important but not urgent. So important is it has a positive impact or consequence, and urgent is something that is driven by a time scale, a sense of busyness. So these are the aspects of our working life that can be usurped and taken over by the urgency. And there is a quote from Robin Sharma that says, don't let the important be a victim of the urgent. So this is the opportunity to put our big rocks in first. So put the big rocks in, and these are the elements of our work that if we started to do or did more of would have the greatest impact on our personal effectiveness. And book these in to your schedule as if they were client meetings or Zoom calls at the moment, or an internal meeting. Book them into your schedule. A great tool for the execution of your plan is to use something called the Pomodoro technique. And the Pomodoro technique is something as simple as actually setting a timer for 25 minutes and building up your day in chunks of 25 minutes focused work. So if you've got one of these big rocks that you need to execute on, turn off your mobile phone, turn off the incoming email alerts, and be totally focused on the task in hand. And when the 25 minutes is up, maybe a ping will go off, then give yourself 5 minutes break. And I do mean a break. Get some fresh air, a cup of tea, cup of coffee. Don't be tempted just to go into dealing with incoming emails and incoming texts. And the Pomodoro technique is actually a really effective way of managing incoming emails. So part of your your weekly plan could be to actually schedule times when you go into incoming emails to answer them, not actually reacting to them as and when the alerts come in. The review part of Plan Do Review is actually asking yourself a number of simple questions. So you're actually becoming a coach to yourself. So reflect on the previous week and ask what worked well, what didn't work so well, what should I do more of, what should I do less of, what should I start doing, and what should I stop doing. The second routine that I'm going to talk about is something we refer to as EMC, Early Morning Club. So don't hate me for this. I'm going to suggest that you get up an hour early than you do at the moment. And the Early Morning Club appears in so many different aspects of success literature. So the ability to get up an hour early, and then I don't mean going straight into email and straight into work mode, but actually building up a routine for yourself that could include some exercise, a mindfulness practice, some journaling, and some reading, some learning. Incredibly impactful routine to get into before the day actually runs away with itself. The last routine I'm going to suggest to you is at the end of the day or the end of the workday, and it's something we refer to as the evening digital shutdown. So really powerful, especially at the moment when we can react to working for a global organisation with different timescales and being on all the time. That's not good for our brain, and it's not good for our own well-being. So get in the habit of having an evening digital shutdown where you turn off your computer for work, you turn off your mobile phone for work, and you're totally immersed in your your life outside of work. As we approach the end of this module, I wanted to take time to reflect on the challenges that we all face in the application of things that we have learned. There is a fundamental difference between understanding a key concept, our intent to apply it, and then the actual application of that manifests itself in our behaviours and actions. And this is especially challenging in the environment that we live in today, where everything is consumed by busyness and urgency. So I want to suggest a couple of the models that we've covered today that can actually help us with this. The first is Plan, Do, Review. In the weekly meetings that we have with ourselves, make one of your big rocks your own personal and professional development. Early Morning Club. So the time we have actually carved out for ourselves, make an element of that our own development. So thank for your attention. I wish you and your families and colleagues all the best wishes moving in, through and out and beyond the other side of the COVID-19 outbreak.